Greetings and welcome back to another episode of FitzRupee Cast featuring Dow2, Retribution, Red-Rupee here, calling the shots for you tonight as always, and we are looking at the smoldering red crater with the sulfur-laden backdrop. It must be none other than Ashes of Typhon tonight, a sweet one-on-one match, and we're switching things up a little bit for you folks. I'm doing some retail action tonight. I know everyone likes watching Elite Mob, but every so often I want to go check out some retail replays, and it looks like this is going to be a good one. Keeping you guys up on the current action in Dawn of War 2 this past weekend. Indrid's Faction Battle 2-on-2 tournament just finished up, or at least it should be. The finals finishing today, probably as this is airing. So be sure to check that out. I'm sure Indrid will be casting as many of those matches as he humanly can. And considering how many matches he does a week, I'm sure he's capable of getting it all done. Anyways, let's go ahead, take a look at what we've got going on here tonight. We've got Phate on the blue side playing the Orc War Boss. And then we've got Neubukatnezzar as our Eldar Warlock. Let's get this match rolling. Warlock versus War Boss. I feel like we've been seeing this matchup quite a few times. Lock versus Boss. Orc versus Eldar. And we're on Ashes of Typhon. That's one thing I do miss from retail replays, is that when you're playing on the usual standard matchmaker, not mapmaker, we see different maps that I don't really see often anymore. I haven't seen Ashes of Typhon much recently. Even the games that people don't like all that much, maps like Legis High Stratum or Green Tooth Jungle, they're fun to see. And really, everything recently has been Civil Frontier or Outer Reaches or Green Tooth Gorge, Calderas Refinery. Those are great maps, sure, but I like seeing some of the different stuff. Ashes of Typhon I always like a whole lot. Even Ice Station Obelisk, no one likes playing on that map, but it's always interesting to see what kind of games develop out of the different terrain and sort of the more interesting dynamics that may not be perfect for gameplay, but always tend to bring out a little something different from the players involved. Anyways, that's enough rambling about maps that we're not currently looking at, because we've got Neubukatnezzar bringing the Banshee speed out here, along with a pair of Shooter Boys from Phate. Banshee's moving up, but that's probably not where they want to be, with a pair of Shooter Boys instantly opening up a cannonade of goofy orc bullets bouncing all over the place. Force them off relatively quickly. Surprising to see the Banshees go that direction. Normally you'll see the Banshees get kind of designated to capping duty before that initial upgrade comes up without having any aspect on them. You really don't want to be in that position that we just saw running into Shooter Boys. Normally the Warlock is the forward capper, but unfortunately this Banshee's got forced off a little early. Neubukatnezzar going straight for that Shuriken weapons team, going to try to prepare for an impending Gen Bash from these shooters, getting upgraded with one set of big shooters right now. Guardian weapons team going to hold here in the yellow cover for the time being, and that's probably a good choice. Might lose a model or two here, retreats before any do fall, so an excellent engagement right there. Warboss getting forced off by the Warlock and the Banshees. Those Guardians did probably buy enough time that the Warlock is going to get here to support along with the Banshees, and even if they don't push off this threat, as they get suppressed from aiming what's that, Neubukatnezzar will probably have the Shuriken team, coming right up on the power here, probably be able to defend this Gen Bash a little bit, but it looks like he's setting up a bit too far back. He's going to be able to get these shooters out, the sluggers out of there, but the two squads of shooters still going to be able to sit at range and take out both of these remaining generators. Neubukatnezzar not hesitating to go ahead and drop some more gens, but oh no, the shooters, in a moment of indecision, kind of bounced off that generator node, and that was enough time for the Guardians and Shuriken weapon team to tear them apart and take them out. Phate loses his sluggers, brings them right back onto the field though, not hesitating to keep that extra squad out here. You really want to have some sort of melee to try to control the Guardians and the Banshees a bit. Two generators down over here for Phate. Hasn't captured his secondary power farm yet. Meanwhile, Neubukatnezzar sitting with a full one. Lost a generator, but managed to pop two more up and save the second. Shooter's now just going to go ahead and decap the rest of the map. Don't want to push up too far. No, if they get suppressed, they're going to be getting closed in real quick with some Banshees moving in. Ooh, and some Rangers coming in. My favorite Eldar build to watch. One of everything across the board. That's the 1-1-1-1 build. Guardians, Banshees, Shuriken, and Rangers. Really great at putting out several different threats. And allows you, especially with the Warlock, who's just such an offensive, in-your-face hero. He can move around with the Shuriken or the Guardians The Rangers can move around with the Banshees. You can kind of split up into two separate strike forces here and really do some damage. We can see Phate went ahead and popped the power node over here, getting himself a Luda squad, which is an interesting choice. Luda's not nearly as effective in retail as they are in the Elite mod. They got a pretty nice DPS boost in the Elite mod that they don't quite have in retail. Phate decides, upon hearing me say that, to cancel his Luda squad. Rangers already starting to pick off some Sluggas, and that's really how you want to use these Rangers. I see people get Rangers and are oftentimes too aggressive. They just kind of want to get in there and start taking shots at whatever they can. And really what you want to do is just kind of keep them back, pick off a couple models here and there, and really open yourself up for an easy engagement after that. The Rangers can pick off maybe 2 or 3 of these Sluggas before the Banshees even engage, and it's going to be a really simple engagement for those Banshees to win. Rangers sticking around a bit too close, but really the Sluggas kind of retreated at the last possible second. 2 squads of Shooter Boys now getting suppressed by the Shuriken weapon team, trying to hold that Warlock still for the time being. Banshees hacking up that Warboss, but he does what looks like a stomp there at the end. Manages to get the Banshees off. Shuriken Cannon moving a bit too close. Gonna be easily flanked by these 2 Shooter Boy squads, and both of them get out of the arc. One squad getting suppressed, but the second squad behind it. Nice split there by Phate. Well played. Recognized the Shuriken was moving up too quick and just split both of his Shooter Boys in opposite directions. Very well done. 407 to 497 in Neubukatnezzar. Down by about 100 VPs, but doing pretty well on the map so far. Doesn't have the contested power node. Phate still has that added generator up, but Neubukatnezzar is heading into Tier 2 slightly before he is Neubukatnezzar. Didn't really spend too much power. He spent 60 between the Shuriken and the Rangers. Got himself an upgrade on the Banshees. No gear for the Warlock. Banshees heading into an engagement they cannot win. They recognize that after dropping their war shout. Unfortunately, did not suppress those Slugger Boys and cost them a few extra models. Looks like 2 Banshees are going to be heading back to the Webway Assembly as the Rangers start picking off some more Shooter Boys. Only a few kills on those Rangers so far, but if they continue to keep leading these Orcs like this, it's really going to pay off nicely. Orcs are in that kind of middle of the road where they don't have super durable members, but they don't have a really low model count either. So their model cost is generally around the 20s or 30s. So even though it's not super expensive, if you lose a few of those models a few too many times in these engagements, the requisition bleed really catches up with you. So you have to be aware of that. It looks like Phate's kind of responding with Shooter Boy Nob here, which will sort of hopefully reduce some of the drain there. Of course, we can see the Rangers picking off more models, but if the Nob does take those shots, it will prevent some of the models from dying so quickly, and of course just kind of extends the potential for these Shooter Boys to stay on the field. Rangers are continuing to dig in there as Neubukatnezzar brings out some more spiders. Phate already has the Slugga Nob picked out there as the Rangers continue to just cause bleed everywhere. He's really using these Rangers effectively. This is exactly what you want to do. You want to have those Rangers on the field in front of some sort of setup team, something along those lines. Shooter Boy's going down. Retreated the wrong direction. A bit too brazen right there. That's a big loss for Phate. They were fully upgraded. The second squad of Shooter Boys doesn't have its Nob, which is now getting purchased. Warboss sitting vanilla for the time being. Guardians deciding to get out. Neubukatnezzar behind on VPs, but I think doing a better job of the army control here. Warspire's getting upgraded with their aspect, and the Weird Boy coming onto the field. Phate's really going to need something else to get into the game here, I feel like, after losing a couple squads. He's pretty well on the back foot, doing a good job of controlling the map, all things considered, but really needs to be more careful with his army. He's lost 2 squads so far. You can see the difference in the tabs right now between the 3 to 5 squads right now, and it's going to make a huge difference as this game goes on. He's managed to keep the map control advantage for the time being, but against a faster army and now numerous more squads than what he controls, this map is really going to change against his favor. 331 to 453. Keeping about a solid 100-point lead right now as the Weird Boy comes on the field and drops a shot right into the face of that Shuriken weapons team. Gets it unset up, trying to get an opening for that Warboss to cap the point. Banshee's finally managing to take down this central power node. Phate does have a pretty reasonable tech advantage for the time being. He's got his full farm. He had 2 bonus nodes up, so he was sitting at probably about 20 more income per minute than Neubukatnezzar. You can see it's 54 to 64 after that node going down, so probably about 70 to 54 before. Rangers doing a good job keeping that War Boss out of the fight. Didn't cause any bleed there, but now the War Boss has to retreat. Not going to have a good frontline damage sponge for this Orc push. Considering there's few squads, it's going to be very difficult to approach the Eldar position. Warp Spiders out here on the field. Going to be very effective at continuing to keep that map control up. And if they're used correctly, staying behind that yellow cover, getting some model kills up, harassing the map on all different sides. Rangers, again, knocking everything down. Suppression going down on the Banshees, aiming what's that as they close in on the Weird Boy along with the Warlock, but Warp Vomit takes them out, and a big flank coming in from the west side in the form of Slugger Boys and a War Truck. Recognizing their suppress, they hop back in, doing a good job of controlling both fronts here. But those Shooter Boys getting perilously low. They got to be very careful with that Merciless Switchblade around. One good special attack could be it for them. Slugger Boys hopping out in the retreat path of the Warlock. It looks like he's going to have to run right through, but they decided, it looks like, yeah, not pulling off to take out that Warlock. I think they would have been able to take him out had they chosen to do so. Bit of an oversight there from Mr. Phate. And the impish Warp Spiders on this side of the map teleporting around, causing havoc wherever they go. They've got anti-vehicle, they've got anti-infantry, and they can teleport. Speaking of anti-vehicle, there goes the Haywire Grenade. Stops that War Truck cold. But oh man, way late kill there. War Boss apparently reaching through the rift there to pull that last Warp Spider down before he finished his teleport. 422 to 307. And Phate is heading into Tier 3 well ahead of Neubukatnezzar. Neubukatnezzar gonna be there shortly if he doesn't choose to get another Tier 2 unit. But for the time being, he's gonna be ahead in that tech race. Kinetic shot, glitching out that War Boss for just a second there. Weird Boy in a lot of trouble. But that War Boss stomp protects him and gets him out of there without much issue. Looks like we see Swift Movement activated though, and this War Boss is in a lot of trouble. Down he goes. Phate losing some more army, but still managing to keep those VPs from ticking off. Unfortunately, he just hasn't been able to keep the Eldar solidly back in any real fashion. Neubukatnezzar still looking very good in the kind of on-the-field forces. But he's going to need to get this War Truck off the field. This War Truck will really allow the Orcs to break that position right now. Banshees will be able to deal with the Sluggers, but not if they keep hopping out of that War Truck and reinforcing. The Warp Spiders and the Banshees are going to be a good way to deal with that truck, but it's kind of tricky because even if you do manage to focus that truck down, your Banshees are going to be getting swarmed by Sluggers, and the truck's just going to run right past the Shuriken Cannon. I'd actually maybe like to see Warp Throw come down on the War Boss, or sorry, the Warlock, or something along those lines. Oh my gosh, look at these Warp Spiders just shredding through these Shooter Boys. They might even be able to teleport up and finish it off, but it looks like they're just playing a little reserve for the time being. 402 to 306, and the War Boss is heading over to deal with these Banshees along with the aid of the Weird Boy. Another Haywire goes down on that truck. Kinetic Pulse along with the Warp Spiders doing heavy damage to these Slugger Boys. Warlock's moving to intercept, but the Sluggers are in on the Rangers. Destructor goes down, picks off some more HP, but that War Truck needs to get up there and support those Sluggers. There aren't enough of them on the field now to deal with that Warlock. It looks like they're going to just hop right back in that War Truck. And did they actually get in? Yes, there's one lone model with very little HP, as we have a looted tank coming onto the field here shortly from Phate. That's going to be a big difference here. Neubukatnezzar really needs to head into Tier 3. He's got lots of resources floating here. I think he should have gotten a Bright Lance to deal with this truck. I know it kind of feels like overkill when you already have a Haywire and Banshees on the field, but you really want to be able to prevent that truck from rolling around wherever it can. You can see still that despite, I feel like, being on the higher end of the army composition until this point, that he's still way behind on VPs. He's still about 100 short of where he needs to be to even it out and then start getting the advantage, which is surprising considering that Eldar are usually the race for map control. But Neubukatnezzar now heading into Tier 3. This looted tank is going to be a real thorn in his side for the time being, though. He really doesn't have any way to deal with that effectively. There's a truck out, there's a looted tank out, there's really no reason for Neubukatnezzar not to get a Bright Lance at this point. Of course, he can't just upgrade that Guardian Weapons team as he can in the Elite mod. He has to buy a separate Bright Lance weapons team, but this truck in dire straits now, getting hit by the Warp Spider's Haywire Grenade. War Boss manages to get a crucial stomp in there 258 to 401. Truck's still trying to get away. Banshee's taking huge hits from that tank though, and they just have to fall back. If they had taken one more shot before hitting that retreat button, they may well have gotten obliterated, and it wouldn't have been a worthy trade to trade the Banshees for that war truck. Slugga Boys get suppressed as they were trying to flank that Shuriken weapons team, but Neubukatnezzar reacted quickly enough to get that thing spun around to get the Warp Spiders in position, and now these Shooter Boys are pretty much going to have to retreat. Warp Spiders doing a good job starting to pour some fire in. They are behind that yellow cover though and can deal with the Warp Spiders pretty well on their own. Of course, with the support of the Rangers and the Shuriken Cannon, they weren't going to stand a chance in that engagement. Looks like we have Neubukatnezzar trying to move in on the contested VP, but it's triple cap against them, 186 to 402. I'm surprised to see Phate still doing so well in the VPs. Neubukatnezzar just hasn't been able to move up against this Orc position, and now this looted tank is going to force the Warlock off of the point once again. A double shot there from the tank. One big boom shot there, and then followed up by a second is enough to scare off the Warlock. Taking a couple shells to the face is enough to easily scare off anyone. Nobs coming on the field for Phate as well. Neubukatnezzar is responding with a tier 3 vehicle of his own. He's got the fire prism coming out, and hopefully we'll see that thing utilized properly. Unlike we did in the last game, it kind of just came out and popped. Hopefully Neubukatnezzar, I have faith in him. He's got some exemplary Eldar play that I've seen in the past, so hopefully he's on his game. Haven't seen him play in a while though, so he might be a little rusty. Maybe that's why we're seeing a little loss in the map control game here so far. Weird Boy doing a good job of keeping those Guardians off of the points. Between the tank now and the Weird Boy, like, Phate's pretty well set up to just kind of stall out these VPs a little bit. He's doing a good job so far. It's 137 to 402, and Neubukatnezzar really needs to try to get back in the game here. It looks like he's got a big surge coming up from the north with the Fire Prism and several Eldar squads. We've got Rangers, Warp Spiders, Banshees, and the Warlock himself. The big mean man. He's not gotten too many upgrades on his own. He's got the Merciless Witchblade, but he doesn't have his armor. Normally we see the usual, oh my gosh, Fire Prism a bit too close here. Warp Spiders coming in with the Haywire Grenade, putting some pressure. Fire Prism needs to change to the Focus Beam. Banshees and the Warlock quickly scare off that War Boss without much issue. But it looks like we've got Nobs and Slugga Boys coming in from behind the Fire Prism. The Fire Prism has no choice to move into Orc territory as everything is closing in. It needs to switch back to the wide beam. Did manage to take out that Orc looted tank with a final shot, but it needs to get the heck out of there. Those Nobs really just need to hop right back in that truck and hop on out of there. Fire Prism could finish off the truck on its own. I'm sure the Haywire Grenade's not cooled down yet, but it's trying desperately to get out of a dangerous situation. Really, the Banshees could turn around and try to get with this truck, but of course it is full of big, mean orcs right now. Banshees getting suppressed, Nobs and Sluggas moving in on the Warp Spiders. They need to get the heck out of there. That's not where they want to warp though. That was an aggressive warp, and it might cost the Warp Spiders their lives if they so choose to get engaged by all of those orcs. Triple cap though, 72 points left, and Neubukatnezzar, despite a pretty solid push there, still has no map. He retreated several of his squads. Everything's moving out for the time being. Very injured Shuriken weapons team up here trying to get these VPs back as Neubukatnezzar tries desperately to claw his way back into this game. Fire Prism under a lot of duress once again as the VPs are ticking away. If this thing goes down, it's pretty much going to be the game. Finally taking out that truck. Nobs get knocked back by the Warboss and his ranged attack, 33 to 402. Rangers most certainly destroyed here as Nobs get in melee with their Rangers. Guess what? They're going to be a dead squad. Nobs pick them apart without much issue. Slugga Boy's going to retreat with maybe just a lone Nob. 20 VPs left though, and Neubukatnezzar still isn't capping anything. He needs to get back out there. Shuriken moving up. Slugga Boy desperately trying to escape those Banshees, which are moving so quickly, but they just can't quite reach him. Looks like he's going to get out of there unscathed. 10 points left. Is Neubukatnezzar capturing anywhere? 8 points, and just as he captures, he might have 1 point left if that Shuriken gets the decap. There's not anything going down over here, but there's still 400 points on the Orc side. He does get the decap, and it looks like we're going to have a bit more game left. Nobs in the retreat path for these Banshees. That's not a good thing to see at all. Exarch instantly getting knocked down. The the Weird Boy. Lots of W's going on. Weird Boy may well have saved those Banshees by knocking the Nobs back. Warlock heading away from the Nobs. He's really not going to be able to deal with that on himself, but he can fall back to the relative safety of the Fire Prism's firing arc. That thing moved a bit too close for that looted tank. Look at the range on that. You really just want to use the Fire Prisms as far back artillery support tanks. 383 to 2. And we're now going to see a triple cap briefly for Neubukatnezzar. My goodness. 2 points left and Neubukatnezzar is still in this game. These Fire Prisms, this could be the crux of an inevitable comeback right here. We have 2 Fire Prisms on the field. One's very injured though. It won't take much to take it down. Beamy Luda's coming up on the field, but I'm not sure if that's going to be a good choice. Ooh, Shuriken way out of position right there. Gets obliterated in the blink of an eye against those Slugger boys. And with the current composition of Phate, these 2 Fire Prisms may be exactly what he needed. So there's no longer any support vehicle on the field to get these melee squads in on those Fire Prisms. Although I would argue that the Weird Boy is a pretty fancy vehicle of his own. All he needs to do is get that Bigot Brains upgrade, get that nice over there ability. But right now he's getting surrounded by Banshees. I'm not sure if Fate's paying attention. He hits the retreat button, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Those Banshees are so fast, and the Weird Boy takes a while to get up to maximum retreat speed. And there he goes, out of control with his blue circle. Hard Boys didn't really help him out too much. There was only one boy, and he was a bit too weird and not enough hard as he pops in front of our eyes. 276 to 2, and Neubukatnezzar has suddenly a nice stronghold on this map, on the VP game. Guardians getting upgraded with their battle equipment finally, so they can start throwing some grenades around, throwing up some energy shields, really trying to reinforce Neubukatnezzar's hold on the map right now. Shuriken team coming back out again. Neubukatnezzar recognizes he's gonna need some suppression to deal with those knobs if they do move in anywhere. That Weird Boy is a huge loss for Phate. Sudden turnaround here, as we can see Neubukatnezzar's army much bigger than Phate's. It had evened out a little bit, and with that Fire Prism going down, I thought that may have been the end of everything for Neubukatnezzar, but he holding out at 2 VPs with 250 to go. And my goodness. Luda Boys, as I was saying, Luda Boys just might find themselves being moved a bit feckless here against the Fire Prism. I think the Fire Prism is just a bit too mobile and long range to really be threatened by those Luda Boys. I think, unfortunately, maybe we should have just seen another tank, or maybe, maybe even repurchase that Weird Boy. You need over there to get those knobs in on that Fire Prism, and I think if he just used that one time, he could probably take out a Fire Prism pretty easily. They're not too quick. Oh my gosh, Orcs getting blasted into bits here by those Fire Prisms. Warboss getting knocked all over the place. Guardians falling back as 217 to 2 points remaining. All the Orc has to do is get a single lone cap, but all he has that deals damage is 2 melee squads. And right now, Neubukatnezzar's current army composition is just perfectly enough to deal with that. We can see Phate now dropping under 200 VPs. He's got a tank coming up here, and really I think if he just pushes up this left side with his tank, takes these 2 VPs, all he needs to do is get that cap for a split second, and this game will be over for Neubukatnezzar. Tank is moving up the left along with what looks like the knobs over here. Beamy Luda heading over to the far side of the map to help deal with those Fire Prisms, but again, I'm not sure that's going to be the best choice of anti-vehicle for these Orcs. Haywire goes down on the Luda tank, and the knobs hit their frenzy to move in on that Shuriken weapons team. Triple cap though, 151 to 2, and the Warboss is moving in on this point, which he's just not going to be able to cap those Fire Prisms. So good at locking down points on their own, and the looted Beamy gun just not close enough to deal any real damage. Warboss is upgraded with the Bang Bang Hammer. It does do power melee, so it will be able to do some damage to that Fire Prism, but I don't think it's going to be enough on his own. Knob's getting knocked all over the place. Luda Tank needs to move up and take out that Fire Prism while it has the opportunity to do so. Knob's very low on HP. It's sitting at about half strength. Oh no, big shot misfires, luckily, for those knobs, and wow, this Fire Prism does in fact get very low. Looks like Neubukatnezzar may have slacked on his micro a little bit, but finally getting a shot to knock back that Warboss. Banshees getting very low themselves. Knobs trying to capture the point wherever they can. 2 Banshees left, but there's 3 knobs. 2 Banshees with 3 knobs. Not a good mix If Neubukatnezzar loses these knobs, it could be a pretty big loss, although arguably the 2 fire prisms are the huge point right now. Warlock goes down up top, and this game could really go in either direction still. Phate did lose that looted tank to the Banshees once again, but he's still got plenty of resources. He's got a little bit of time to still get in this game. Again, all he needs is to get that second cap. The knobs are trying so very hard, but the fire prism is just not allowing them to get that cap down. One model left, and he realizes he has to pull that squad back. Warp Spires again harassing the Northern Orc point. Looted's just not going to be effective, I think. They're just too immobile to deal with the fire prisms. This fire prism only needs a little Warboss sneeze, and it will blast itself apart. Another looted tank coming out, and it looks like we see Phate again trying to push this left side of the map, but there's 2 fire prisms. There's one for either side, and Neubukatnezzar just hasn't released a single VP since hitting 2 points. And really, that's what he has to do, because if he releases even one for a split second, this game's going to be over. It looks like the Slugger Boys just heading straight in for the VP. Phate with another tank coming out here. Looks like the Autarch might be going down with 4 HP, but those Sluggers can't quite do what they need to do. We have Nobs and the looted tank moving up along with the beanie gun over on the far side. We have Sluggers and the Warboss over here scaring off that Warlock, who again falls to the Orc melee. Looted tank moving in, and the only thing up here is a fire prism to threaten it. That looted tank needs to move in on the fire prism. Loota's setting up. Meanwhile, the Knobs activate their frenzy again to get past this Shuriken weapons team, but really, they need to take out this tank. It looks like we're going to have a cap on the central point for the Orc player Phate, with one lone Warp Spider capping on the far side. Warboss is trying to get a decap on this far side, 27-2. And I can't believe it, but Neubukatnezzar might be winning this game. Looted tank has singled out this fire prism. It finally goes down, allowing the Orc to take the contested DP, but this lone Warp Spider, I can't believe it, is down here capping the point. 16-2. There is a decap on 2 points. All he needs to do is get a cap on one more, send something down here to get the cap on his natural VP, and he'll be good to go. Unfortunately, it looks like the Warboss isn't going to be able to get the cap up here. Autarch and the Fire Prism going to be able to finish him off, and one Warp Spider there with the assist. Looted tank way on the far side here, trying to put some pressure on this second Fire Prism, but it looks like instead it's just shooting at the Guardians. It needs to take out the Fire Prism. I'm pretty sure it could 2 or 3 shot it from this point in the rear armor. It finally shoots, but it looks like it's not going to be enough. Doesn't even get a final shot off. 9-2, and there's a decap going down, but he throws in the towel, and Neubukatnezzar wins. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Nobs, I guess, killed the Warlock once again up top, so he did have the top point. He was getting a decap down here, but he throws in the towel. I really think, wow, he should have just rode it out to see who lost that. Phate just perhaps frustrated with losing so many tanks and unable to finally push that Eldar position, had victory in the bag, but Neubukatnezzar gets the decap at the last possible second, and then just holds it for another 10 minutes to end out this game. Honestly, though, I think he at least could have drawn this out a little bit. I guess the Fire Prism and Autarch would have been enough to get up here and scare off these Slugger Boys. But man, I think he should have just gone for the cap. Oh well, a win for Neubukatnezzar, and I'll say he earned it if nothing else. Wow. But that's it for the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Little retail action for you folks here once again, and a lot of Orky and Eldar craziness here as the game closes out. Feel free to subscribe, comment, like the video. I always appreciate it. This is Red-Rupee. I'll be catching you guys next time.